Hey, this is Daniel with BadgePass. Did you know that you could save so much more time by creating templates for your master reseller account and use that in your next BadgePass ONE configuration? Let me show you how much time you can save by first looking at a standard configuration and how long it takes to create a BadgePass ONE account, and then using our app and badge sharing tool from a template, how you can save so much more time next time you create a BadgePass ONE account. All right, so to get started, what we're gonna do is look at our scope of work here. In the scope of work, you're gonna be able to identify that we have a Mississippi, Louisiana, and summer intern entity pool there. So we're gonna be creating essentially 3 different apps within our BadgePass ONE system, and they're doing that just for organizational purposes. You can also see highlighted in yellow the different fields that we're gonna be adding onto our different apps, along with some custom fields there as well, so that we can identify their location, and that's gonna work for our different badge design requests that we have using variable images. So now that we know kind of the general information for our scope of work, now we're creating the entity here. So with the entity, we're just creating 1 per location and 1 for the summer interns as well, and that'll be pretty standard. And once you do that, you can go ahead and start creating the locations for each of these, the location fields for each of these locations. So here you're saying that we're adding location as a custom field for each spot there. And then what we'll do is add list items. So instead of having to type in which location they're from, they can simply select based on the different options they have on that list. Now, moving on here, you'll be able to see that we're simply adding these lists, and we're gonna begin looking our way over to creating apps. So from here, we can create the different apps simply by naming them what we'd like and making sure that they are in the issuance app type. So here, we'll go ahead and create all 3 of them, and once you do that, you can start looking at your device layouts. They had requested that they wanted all 3 different devices used for this BadgePass ONE system. So we're going to have to create one setup for each layout for each location using this standard form of configuration. So here you're gonna see it takes time to go ahead and select every single one. You're gonna have to rename every single record information portion there to have it populate correctly. You'll also have to add in some of those fields, and you'll have to just make sure that you're not missing on any kind of fields that are gonna be available there. And you're also gonna be walking through the different devices that you're gonna be needing. So in this case, you're looking at setting up essentially 9 app layouts because you're having to do it for all 3 devices for all 3 locations. All right, so now we're wrapping up here our last device here for desktop and summer interns. And once this one is created, we can go ahead and start looking at our next portion of our configuration here, which will be our badge design. So for our badge design, we're gonna have to open up BadgePass Studio. So once you open that up, you'll want to go ahead and create them, make sure you're in the right account as well, and make sure you're tying it to the correct entity. So here what we're gonna do is go ahead and add all our logos. We wanna make sure we add our photo portions, all that kind of stuff. Obviously you can use your own creativity to create these designs, or if there's a design that you already have that you want to go ahead and make identical, you can do that. In this scenario, I went ahead and just use a standard ID portion here. So it's just gonna be a standard ID with your first name and last name, and then also your department that you work in. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple of different shapes, colors, things like that to match our company colors. And we'll go ahead and start working on our layout here in just a moment. Now you're looking at adding here some trigger fields as well. So with the trigger fields, what you're gonna be doing here is just simply adding some options where, depending on the location that they are in, it will populate a specific badge design by adding that outline of the location of the state that they work in. We're also gonna go ahead and add some ghost images just for avoiding duplication, vulnerabilities, things like that. So we went ahead and saved the Mississippi badge there as well. And we're now creating the different apps, the different ID badges for the different apps. So here, what you'll be doing is simply just going through, making sure that they're populating correctly. And here we actually had a human error and realized that it was not tied to the correct entity. And that's just kind of what happens when you're having to create a lot of the same designs as well. So you'll just want to make sure you verify all of the potential human error that you could have just by the different options you have. So here we're doing the same thing as we did before, adding, copying and pasting some of the designs from the previous badge, but also making sure that it's all properly routed in terms of the first name and last name, and also that it's going to populate the correct image in your trigger values there for the variable images. Now that they've all been saved, we can go ahead and create the print rules. So here you're going to be able to have to, create the different print rules for the different locations, and you'll want to make sure that it's all the correct information. So if you're creating a badge for the Louisiana location, you want to make sure it's going to populate to the correct printer, things like that. In this case, we're just using a GoPrint account, so they can all just be going to the GoPrint printer. And you'll just want to make sure that all this information is correct when creating the print rules so that you're printing the correct badges. And then once you've finished your print rules for all of these, what you'll notice here is we're making our way to our users portion. And this is where you'll be given permissions to edit data, print, and delete data as well. And this simply just ensures that everything is allowed for it to work correctly. Now let's look at our app and badge sharing feature and see how much time we can actually streamline this. All right, so in this scenario, what we're gonna do is use our preset templates that we have for our Next ID account. What you'll see here is we're gonna start sharing that app and that badge that we'll base all of our work from. And then all we'll need to do is just make sure that we're editing the right information to apply for the same scenario that we've been looking at previously. So here we're making the edits for the custom fields that we need. We're adding our different lists that we'll need to populate the trigger fields, since that's what we've been asked to do for our configuration here. Now we're changing the layout for that one app that we'll need to share for our different locations that we have available. Once you add those, then you can go ahead and start sharing that app as well. So once we wrap that up, we'll be able to start sharing. We're also gonna go ahead and make a couple edits on the badge. Since it's a template, we'll want to remove some of the previous logos and then change the colors, make sure it's matching all of our different criteria for our organization. So here we're adding a logo, adjusting the size, making sure everything is gonna populate correctly. We're also gonna go ahead and add a variable image there for our different locations, which will be necessary for our install here for this configuration. All right, once you save that badge, you're able to share it. So what we're gonna do here is go ahead and start creating the other entities for our different locations. So we're gonna create our Mississippi, Louisiana, and summer intern locations. And then from there, we're gonna be able to add some more information here. What you're seeing here is just how we're sharing those badges. Now we can go in, name them the right information there for the different apps. And once that's shared, you're pretty much good to go. What we'll need to do though is share that badge into the different locations. So we're gonna go ahead and do that now, sharing our badges to the right apps. And once you've shared that, you can go ahead and set up the print rules, which is the last step here. So once you set up the print rules for each of the different locations, you'll be able to start using the app just like you would in any other configuration. You'll be able to set everything up and be ready to go with these templates and how you can share them, which is just another way to save even more time when you're creating these configurations and these accounts. Once you do that, just verify the permissions, make sure they're in the right groups, that they've got the right permissions to print badges, and then once you do that, you're good to go. As you can see, app and badge sharing is a huge time saver when looking at BadgePass ONE configurations. So next time you need to configure a BadgePass ONE account, simply go and use the app and badge sharing to help you save some time for that configuration. If you have any questions on how you can do any more of this, please reach out to us. We're always here to help.